Welcome, everybody, to the Red Mallard podcast. I'm Alex Bennett, Chief Content Strategist here at Red Mallard. Joining me is our illustrious, fearless leader, John Welches. John, how are you today?
Well, we have a topic to cover. If I was to answer your question truthfully, it would be very off topic and have so many rabbit trails. And so I'm just going to say fine.
Podcasting is like a box of chocolates, John. So
there are some that we should throw out, but we'll still eat.
I was listening to a podcast this morning. I had hoped to learn a lot about avant-garde noise music, and it was just a bunch of name dropping of different artists that somebody saw in the early 90s. It's really disappointing. When you open a box that says noise music on it, you expect to be repulsed. But instead of being repulsed, I was just bored. They were not successful. Let's be more successful with this one.
Let's be more successful.
So, John, one of your concepts that you've talked about numerous times internally, and I don't know if this is something that you've talked about a lot with clients and prospects, is the idea that what we do as a content marketing agency is to fill in the gaps between the touch points that our clients have with their clients, their prospects, ensure a consistent delivery of messaging over time. So I would love for you to say a little more about that for our audience.
Yeah. The sales process has probably always been the same since the dawn of time. And that is, you have something to sell, you have something to trade. You're going to check in with people. You're going to see them here and there. And that's going to be it. You're going to wait for them to make a buying decision, or you're going to sell them to the point where they are so tired of your prospecting that they will push you away or succumb to the pressure. And there's one thing that I think is true with a lot of people, and is that they don't want to disappoint somebody. They don't want to let somebody down. And that often leads to people going dark or ghosting people for a long time because they don't want to say no, because they're afraid of, there's like a FOMO, fear of missing out element to it. But there's also this, like, it's just not the right time. And it's just not the right time. Like, I like this guy, or this guy's annoying, but I may want this, and I don't know if I need it right now. I don't know what it's going to do for me. And, so there's all these moments where you check in with them. They don't return your call. You're really disappointed. You haven't heard from them. You send them an email. You connect with them on LinkedIn. You send them a postcard or send them a letter, and they're just not there. Or you could stop by, and then depending on their gatekeeper, you get in, or you're told to come back another time. There are multiple touch points that go into streamlining the sales process, and that's kind of what we're talking about. Is the typical sales process is phone call, meeting, phone call, email, all this stuff, this one-to-one touch points. It takes a lot of time to build that relationship, or to build trust, or to, push them to the point of saying, no thanks, or all right, I'll hear you out. And then when they hear you out, then it's like, okay, proposal, define, refine, close, kickoff, whatever. They become a client. Now it's like, okay, project is done, or it's an ongoing project, and there's like the project updates. But all those little touch points, or all those little, the leapfrogging that goes on. What we try to do through content marketing is make that one consistent communication chain or line, a streamlined line, a through line, whatever we're going to call it. But when you are in those sales processes, or in the sales process, what content marketing can do is go in between all of those one-to-one touch points, and you can put that person into a proven nurture campaign, or a corporate newsletter, or some other way of making them see the brand, get to know the brand, trust the brand. Because you want them to trust you, you want them to trust your company, and the only way to do that is to make them think that you are the expert, that you have what they need. And the only way to do that is to tell them. In the last episode, we talked about case studies. A case study is one of those things that can be dropped in between the gap of your last two meetings, or the gap of your last two phone calls. Because those phone calls, if you get them on the phone, like, I'm saying phone call, most likely you're leaving a message. Oh, hey, Gary, or hey, Beth, it's John here from Red Mallard. Really would love to talk to you about our content marketing, blah, 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 blah. Hope to catch you next time. Look for an email from me. And then I'll forget to email them because I didn't put it in the CRM. If you've got an automated system set up to go and nurture your prospects based on who they are, where they are, that email will go in to their inbox. It'll be another touch point, and it'll be another thing moving your name up the chain of command into that expert box. which is where we all want to be. We all want to be the trusted expert. We all want to be the trusted advisor. We want them to call us for what we know well, and they have no wherewithal, or they just don't have time to do it. We do a lot of simple tasks for our customers. Email marketing is essential. Email marketing is writing and posting into a template and hitting send. It's not challenging. If you're doing work that represents this amount of importance to your business because it's the functions and the way you get paid, or it's the services you're providing through your university or through whatever. We work with faculty at universities. They have to grade papers. They have to teach. This is like that stuff. Over here is sending out faculty research, promoting what they're doing. It's important, but it's not urgent important. And so what makes this stuff happen, and what this is one of those touch points that goes into how they calculate enrollment and rankings and all this stuff. But it's one of those touch points that gets sent out to the community, to the marketplace, and dropped in. And it's another way of taking somebody else out of their brain, out of the prospect's brain or the target market's brain, and putting you in that expert box. And that's where we want to live. And that's where we make this, the content marketing makes the sales process and then just the ongoing marketing and the ongoing trust building process one linear line, because you're dropping stuff in between all those personal touch points. Those personal touch points are essential. We're not going to make your business grow. The work propels and helps your business to grow. All of our clients make their businesses grow because that's their job. That's their purpose. That's their vision. That's their goal. Content marketing, telling your story, accelerates that process, enhances that process, deepens that process, validates who you are, adds the credibility, all these things, because you want to grow to here. And some companies that hockey stick growth, like sometimes that's just because they aren't focused so much on the people of the organization. They're focused more on just the numbers, which is business. But incremental growth brings your people along with you as you are getting to whatever that goal is. And typically by the time you've gotten to that goal, if you are growing at a good pace, you already have another goal. Our 3 to 5 year goals have changed every year because we've achieved stuff. And it's important to celebrate those wins. It's like those are all incremental goals that happen when you are doing some of these essential and necessary marketing steps that will enhance the sales process. They'll keep your people longer. They'll retain clients because you are doubling down on your expertise.
I think a simple metaphor for it is the content marketing is a kind of fertilizer that allows your growth to accelerate. You can still grow a field of crops without it, but It will be a big difference having that content marketing filling in those gaps. I think you're absolutely right. The in-person touch points are absolutely critical. You can't do without those. You can't substitute content marketing for direct human-to-human interaction, especially in the B2B universe. One of the things that I think happens is we're all bombarded with B2C communications all the time. And in that type of marketing, personal connection is not important. If you're trying to sell widgets to 2 million households across the United States, you don't have bandwidth to have personal connections. But when you're trying to sell financial services to a mid-sized business, relationships are everything. And I think that's true of all of the businesses and organizations that we work with. They want direct one-to-one communication with their audience, whoever it is. And those emails, those other, the social media and all those different communications are just ways to ensure that the people that matter to your business the most are consistently experiencing your voice, your expertise, and your brand. I don't think that it's the B2C dimension of branding still matters in the B2B world. It's not a nothing. Just because you have a personal connection with the client that you're trying to maintain doesn't mean that their broader understanding of your brand doesn't matter, because it does. It matters a lot. You want them to feel like they're cool for working with you as opposed to an alternative. And we see this all the time where companies try to, they adopt a brand new branding approach to, get really hip, and they get the people with lots of tattoos on their arms and the big beards and stuff, and they put them on their websites because they want to be, looking like the absolute hipsters, even though every single one of them is an absolute square. And none of them have a beard and none of them have tattoos. But they want that.
They look like they have fair trade coffee in the break room.
That's right. And that matters. It really does. So, and it's not to say that everybody has to adopt that as their style at all, but sometimes you want to differentiate your branding from others for lots of good reasons. But
yes,
anyway,
it's all about differentiation, and it's all about consistency. But at the end of the day, it's all about making your story matter. You know, the way we make stories matter is believing in them and telling them, and the consistency and the differentiation adds the flavor to them. The consistency drives you to keep them pushing forward. It drives you to not want to be a company that hasn't had a LinkedIn post since 2017. You know, that was the joke yesterday at a client meeting. It was like our last post was like, you know, Happy Labor Day 2021. And that's not who you want to be. If you're going to be that, don't have a LinkedIn page, but understand how LinkedIn works, and then use it as a place to park stories that add into the process of sales and marketing and recruiting and culture building. It covers so many facets of your business that to not do it is neglecting the value you bring. And that's something that is a chore, is something that is a hurdle. We struggle to do it ourselves, and no excuse. But if you're not going to do it yourself, decide that we're just going to remain stealth and hope for the best, or decide that, no, we're going to put ourselves out there because we want the best people working here. We want the best types of clients to find us and work with us.
So something I learned from listening to too much Hegelian philosophy, I didn't learn very much, but I did learn to always see what happens when you invert a concept. And I think that's interesting to do here.
Yes.
Where now you have a content marketing program, and it's created this chain of touch points. And the chain of touch points, now you want to fill in with your direct one-on-one connections. And you're leveraging that groundwork that the content marketing has already established. So now you're just filling in gaps for those people instead of having to feeling like you have to do all the lifting, all the communication, all the ideas, getting all done in those personal touch points, because they've already hopefully received and internalized at least some aspect of what you want them to know through your content marketing stories. I think that's also a compelling idea. At first, you start out, you have these gaps because you don't have content marketing. And as you get into it, now you have gaps because you're not filling those with personal connection. Right. So it's over time, the nature of the gaps change, but it also becomes easier to fill those gaps because you don't have to do as much manual lifting.
And I think the other thing is to note, and we can sign off from here, is everything you create now becomes an asset for another time.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, that to me is the opportunity is every time you create something of value, a video, a case study, that can be something you send out until it's been either disproven or it just looks really dated. But if you do it well, it can be sliced and diced, curated, improved, updated down the road for years.
That's right. I've talked to a guy who works for a business that builds parts for nuclear power plants. They've had the same case studies since the 80s because the use case hasn't changed. It looks a little dated, just a smidge, but nuclear power is nuclear power. The risks that they are managing have not changed very much. So, you know, it just goes to show that you can get a lot of leverage out of this stuff over time as long as you're deploying it. You know, right. You have to actively deploy it. And that's the piece that I think can get lost in this digital world where there's an expectation that everything is just automated.
Right.
And you still need a sales team. You still need all those other pieces, but this makes the whole thing easier, more efficient, more effective.
It's exciting, but it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Absolutely.
Even if you break your ankle, you can still get there. I don't know why I said that, but carry on.
Content marketing is really, really hard.
Thank you, Alex.
Talk to you soon.
This has been the Red Mallard Marketing Podcast. Again, you will find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and redmallard.com. Have a great day.